Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start the lecture. Um, okay, I'm recording using OBS. Let me a second.
Còn
So,
chưa?
so you don't have a notification that I'm
Mấy cái
recording.
bài mà không phải data kiểu không phải file reading ấy,
Let me go ahead and mute
kiểu
everybody.
đặt chuẩn cái return các thứ là xong rồi. Làm thử mấy bài.
There we go. Okay, so now let's go ahead and. So I wrote your exam on Sunday, and because of the constraints of everything, it's fairly short. There are basically 7 programming questions. Yes, this is currently being recorded, so no worries. The exam is definitely easier. The practice exam is definitely harder. Here, basically, question 1 is given a string, write a function that blank. 2 is given a list of strings, write a function that does blank. Write a method that does blank that takes in an integer and returns blank. And that's. But basically, I've got a couple. And what I've done in a lot of the questions that are big is that I've broken it down into multiple parts. So you can say here, you got 6 points for reading the file, 7 points for filtering out the correct users, and 7 points for returning a new list. No, there's no historical. This is all programming. And I've tested it out, and I'm going to be making a video of this for everybody on how these on the basic. But basically, you should be able to paste your code directly in using using a monospaced setting on the text box. And in case you're feeling particularly paranoid, I've also included a file upload option at the end of the exam so you can upload all the files you used. There's going to be one question where you need to use a function from random that you haven't had to use before, but I describe how to use it and what you need to do with it. And that's part of the things I do like testing, which is, given this new thing you haven't seen before, please use it for me. So the questions basically, so I have 7 questions, and let me just simply list the topics of each question. You've got one question one 5-point question that goes over a that should be very easy for you to do because you've had to do it multiple times before. A 10-point question that deals with a list of strings and finding the string that has the most of some quality. Question 3 is something that that will go into on today's practice. Definitely, you want to check that, but it has to deal with iterating over all the numbers digits. Question 4 is another string manipulation question, and that's 15 points. Question 5 is 20 points, and you're going to be reading a file, and I want you to basically iterate through a file and create a list of all the things that match in a file. Question 6 is another file reading question, which is a CSV question, and basically I'm asking for you to find, the maximum or minimum or basic. So basically from those kind of questions, you should expect to be able to calculate maxes, minimums, that kind of stuff. And question 7 is I present to you a game, which is a scam. And I want you to figure, and I tell you that the odds are 50-50. I have you have a 50-50 chance of winning or losing. And I want you to simulate the game 10,000 times, 100,000 times, so that
nothing. She just said nothing. It's really nothing. She just said she missed you.
Thank you.
Excuse me 1 second. Mute all. Yep, there are 7 questions on the whole exam. because brevity is the essence of wit. And that makes sense. The reason, and there's a reason for this, because I know from experience, listen, I know from experience, having had students request, no, it doesn't need to run perfectly, but you're getting as to the reason why there's only 7 questions. And it's because students have a tendency to go like, oh God, there's a finding error, and I've only got this hour and a half to do the exam, and I can't fix this error, and now everything's wrong, and I'm gonna fail. And rather than forgetting that I don't really care about the syntax so much as the problem solving. So if you find an error, that you can't solve, just do your best. But like, don't we all? How many points is question 7? 20. Question 6 is 20. And you do see which one and what's their work. And like questions like question 20, I say, hey. So for like question 6, I say, hey, you get 5 points for just reading the file or writing code that will read the file. Your question, so you will get a text box, and I'll be making a video tonight about how the text box works. And you can paste that, and I'll be expecting your answer to be with the text box. However, at the end, I have a question 8 that's worth 0 points, where you can upload all your files kind of as a backup, just in case the pasting didn't work. Right? So that way you can So if you're scared of the text box, just upload your file. Right. Well, the idea here is that you can type it in idle, copy do Control A or Command A to copy it, and then paste it into the text box. And boom. That's all you have to do. All right. So let me actually go ahead and build a new question over here, and I can just do that very shortly over here. Quiz, new quiz. How many questions points? I think that was 10, 15. Yes, you'll be able to see all the questions at the same time, I believe. So, example 0 points using the new quiz format. Quizzes, and so save and publish and build essay question. So yeah, here we go. Build essay question. Example. Just throw some code in the box below. Okay, what's worth 1 point. Done. Boom. All right. So we'll keep this. I'm gonna keep this around for later. But a question will look like this. Here's the title. I'm probably gonna ask people to sharing their screen would be silly. I might. That might be interesting. You know what? What I want is webcam. Really, it's proctored just to make sure that basically you're not talking to anybody. There's kind of a big honor system going on there because, honestly, I've seen too many issues with Proctorio, and I just want to get this exam done. Essentially, this is just think of it as a quiz. A very big quiz. Okay, so let's go ahead and start reviewing the practice exam. Okay? So the string value, Hal's moving castle, is a valid string. Why isn't it a problem that the single quote character in Hal's isn't escaped? Because if you've surrounded a string in Python with double quotes, you can use single quotes inside that. And if you've got single quotes surrounding, if you've got a string that's been created by using single quotes, you can use double quotes inside it without escaping. What's the main difference between a dictionary and a list? A list is ordered by index, and a dictionary, you create whatever keys. The keys don't have to have any order. Sure. If L is a list, what does this expression do? Reverse, that will create a new copy of the list that's in reverse. How do I use slice notation to get the last 3 characters of a string? Anaconda. Okay. Properties. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay, hey there. Python. H is equal to... Hello, how do I get the last 3 characters? From -3 to the end. We'll do it. If you do -3 to -1, that will go up to, but not include the -1. How do you simulate a coin flip in Python? That's open to interpretation as to however you want to do it, but there's a couple ways you can do that. First way is just simply, but the necessary step always is to definitely import random. One way to do it is to simply say, hey, a 1 is a heads and a 2 is a tail. Random.rand int 1 to 2. There's also random.choice, which we really didn't go over, but that's okay. You don't really need it on the exam. Which, given a list, it will select one of the items randomly from the list. Okay. So there's a couple ways to do that, but random int I expect you to be using most of the time. If I have a coin that's slightly weighted to favor heads, it will land on heads 55% of the time. How would you simulate this in Python using the random module? I don't necessarily... So for this, I didn't really expect code down here, but the idea here was, hey, I was looking for more of the idea, which is, hey, I'll just simply simulate, instead of my range being 1 to 2, I will say it'll be from 1 to 100, and I'll say that 55 and lower is a heads. $55 and lower is a heads. The reason that this is that this doesn't need to be escaped is because I'm surrounding the string with double quotes. If I surround it with single quotes, it needs to be escaped. But if I use a double quote inside single quotes, that's perfectly fine. All right. So, let's see. Now, did I go over this last class, this question over here? Okay. So let's suppose we had a file called temperature.csv, which contains the daily highs and lows recorded in Philadelphia. We've got 3 fields per line. We've got the day, the high temperature, and low temperature. These were actually the highs and lows. I don't give you the file or anything. If I ask you to read a file, I don't give you a file. I'm asking for basically how would you write a method that reads this. So if you want to test something, you'll have to write it yourself. But so let's go ahead and so the contents of the file might look like this. I'm going to copy this over here just so that you can see it. I mean, I'll give you some example output. But just like this, but otherwise this is all you really get. So There we go. I was wondering why this didn't look right. Okay.
Laser.
What's he doing? Is he going downstairs?
Supposed to do that? Then don't do it, please. Close the door.
Sorry. Classroom.
Do you need a diaper change? Lay down.
Okay. So here we go. We want to create a file that we've got this file. Write a program that calculates the following. So you'll see a rubric like this for each of the big 20-point questions, which there's 3 of them. So 5 points for calculating the day with the hottest high, the day with the coldest low, and then the average temperature for the entire file. So let's go ahead by starting by opening the file, which is temperatures.csv. So we don't have this, so we're just going to have to pretend. .csv. And this is why I say your code doesn't actually have to run, because I don't have, if you want it to run, you'll have to create your own thing to run it. Data. Now, basically, no matter what we're going to need to do, we're going to need to do a for loop for it. For line in data. And we've got essentially the date, the high, and the low. So what we're going to need to do is we are going to need to create, we're going to need to split it. I mean, it doesn't matter which part of the problem we're working on. We're going to need to split the line. A line is equal to line dot split. And it's separated by commas. So split on the commas because it's a CSV file. Great. Okay. And now we just need to find the hottest high temperature in it. So we know that basically the day is equal to line 0. High is equal to line 1. And that should be and we should turn that into an integer. And then it should be a low should be line 2. Line, day, high, low. There you go. All right, so now let's go ahead and collect our first 5 points. So hottest is equal to so let's say that the hottest day is equal to, so this will be the hottest temperature, right? Do we care about the day? The day with the hottest high. So hottest day is equal to whatever, and the hottest temp is equal to, let's see, well, we're going to create something that's, I'm going to say there. Why am I doing a number so low? Because any temperature will be higher than that. I don't want to accidentally say it's just a, I don't want to accidentally say my hottest temperature might be 90 when nothing in the file might be 90 or something like that. So all I have to do now is just simply say, hey, so now let's collect our 5 points. If high is greater than hottest temp, the hottest temp is equal to high, and hottest day is equal to day. Okay, that's 5 points there. Next 5 points. Can you just see if can't you just set the hottest as the first one? I mean, I could, but the issue is with reading the line is like, because I'm reading the file like this, one line at a time while I've got it open. I can't really treat the first line special. If cold is less than, so now let's go ahead and make a for the next question, it's the hottest high, the lowest low, coldest day. Yeah, I mean, you could if you did it like this. You could, and data would just be a list at that point. And then you could access the lines individually like that. But let me continue because I know there's a lot of material to get through. And the coldest temperature will now be something blazing hot. It never would be. Can the initial hottest temperature be 0? I mean, technically yes. However, 0 is a valid temperature. And so it's possible that the range of stuff that we are looking at, the hottest might never get above 0. Although it's in Philadelphia. So why is the hottest temperature negative whatever? Because because we're guaranteed that even the coldest day will be this. What's the difference between read line versus read lines? Read lines gives you takes the entire file and puts it and dumps it into a list, line by line. Read line just gives you a single string, a single line. This is essentially calling read line one at a time. So if cold is less than the coldest temperature, all right. If this was the hottest temperature, if I set this as this, this will always report that the hottest temperature found would be this. There would never be anything hotter than this. And same thing with the coldest one. Yep. I'm ensuring that basically that any hotter temperature is going to be hotter than this really cold temperature, and any cold temperature is going to be colder than this cold temperature. No, the minimax won't help you here. Because you'd have to, not unless you basically, the only way the minimax would help you here is if you, well, actually no, they wouldn't, because you wouldn't be able to figure out what the index was to get the day. Coldest day, coldest temp. And now, the last part was get the average of all the high temperatures. So, high temps. High temp sum is equal to 0. Num lines is equal to 0. So now all we have to do is do high temp sum plus equals 1. Is it not plus equals of the high? I just forgot to change that. And then it's hard to code and answer all the questions at the same time. Yeah, it should be low. There we go. And then the average would be, so we could get the hottest day, which would be hottest day, print coldest day, print high temp sum divided by num lines. Okay. Let me go on to the next question. So we've got a file called with all these comma separated values. There's 5 per line separated by commas. Write a code that below that will open the file, read the numbers from it, and print the sum of all the even numbers in the file. So let's go ahead and say and def temp reader def num reader.
Daddy, play this guitar.
Laser, I can't play a guitar right now. And that would also require me knowing how to play a guitar. Okay, let's go ahead and do this file. This is much more representative of what would be on the exam, by the way, this question. Actually, it would be somewhere between these two, where you're reading it and trying to find a field. So first, let's go ahead and the basic structure still applies, which is open. Was it? I'm just going to assume it's called numbers.csv for ease of purpose. Open numbers.csv r equals data for line in data. It's a comma separated value file, so we're going to split the line up by the commas. Line is equal to line.split. Right? Now that we've got split it up into those lines, what we're going to do is now say basically that we got to basically go through and, well, actually we're split up into entries. So for num in line, num is equal to int. Turn that string individual. So this splits each line of strings up into a bunch of. So it basically takes this and splits it into a list of the string 353, the string 213, the string 5, this big string. So now, for line in num, swap it to a number. And now, if number mod 2 equals 0, if it's an even number, then we want to do a running sum, so total is equal to 0, total plus equals num. So that one's fairly straightforward. Just open the file. It doesn't let you add. So so the /n it doesn't get rid of. Ah, okay. I thought the int would get rid of that. So what you're saying is, int 23/n. It should do that just fine. So yeah. So that should strip out white space. The int function shouldn't care about white space. It finds the int and tries to turn it into an int. But as soon as you try to get something that's not a letter, that's not white space in there, it has issues. All right. And it's because text reading is a pain in the butt that sometimes gives you characters that you didn't intend to get. So this one, love this question. Wish I had put it on an exam instead of a practice exam. Given a string. Oh, and let me show you basically how you might submit this question, right? So here, I select it. Or if I'm doing a file, I can just hit Control A and Control C to copy it all. But I'm going to just hit Control C. Go over to this thing, right? If I paste it like this, it doesn't actually look that bad, right? What I could also do, though, if you wanted to keep the heading exactly for when you submit your code, see this text box over here? This is the text box you're going to be using for all your questions. It will just be like question 1. This is it. Question 2. Here, pre-formatted. Well, now the issue is that, and then, let's see, clear formatting. But notice that the tabs are still there, and just select it pre-formatted. Or another way to do it is you can do Control-Shift-V, and that will paste it without any format, with none of the formatting you had. So if I select pre-formatted, Control-Shift-V, and there. So you can just paste this in, and it will keep the formatting, and it's no problem. Submit the problem. It's going to say it's auto-grading. It's going to be unable to auto-grade any of this, and this is what I'll see. So no worries about it. Your indentation will hold if you paste. I know that was an issue that people were thinking about, but so that shouldn't be an issue. So un or un, one of my favorite questions, right? If it's got un in front of it, remove the un. If it's not got un in front of it, add an un. So all you have to do here, def un or un, is to basically ask myself, does the word have un in the front? If un is equal to the first 2 characters of the word, you don't want to do if un in word, because that gives you some false positives. So if un is at the beginning of the word, we're going to return one thing, which is namely the word without un. Else, we add un to the beginning of the word. Fairly straightforward question. I don't care. You can create functions. Notice that for this one, I just do it by functions just so I can keep it organized for myself and when I'm working in a single file. But notice that this doesn't say you have to write a function to do it. Neither does this one. The ones that require a function, please do a function, because so like question 1 is do this. Question 2 is do this. You can use the function you wrote in question 1 to help you. So doing it that way kind of helps. So if I say write a function, it makes sense to write a function. And plus, I want you to be returning something. I'm actually going to go and skip to the higher value points over here towards the end. I don't think I included this. No, I did not include this. So I want to go over these problems because these are the more high point problems, right? Is that okay with everybody? If I just go over these and I'll do the other ones at the tail end? Okay. So the outcome of any fair toss has an equal chance of landing heads or tails, right? If I toss a 3 coin, there's 8 possible outcomes, right? Heads is heads, T is tails. Heads, heads, tails represents 2 heads in a row thrown by tails. So what we're going to do is I'm going to challenge you to a coin flipping game. You're going to choose a sequence that occurs after flipping 3 coins, such as heads, head, tails. And I'm going to choose one after you, such as tails, heads, heads. So we're going to keep flipping until one of the coin flip sequences occurs. And whoever sequence shows up first wins. So, for example, if we flip the coin until one of the chosen sequences occurs, we might get a few games. So, here, this one I win because tails, heads, heads appeared before heads, heads, tail did. Okay? You flipped head, head, tail, you win. We flipped tails, tails, head, tail, head, head. I won. So if you do heads, heads, tails, you win. But if we get a tails, heads, heads, I win. Here, you win because we flip a bunch of heads and then we follow it by a tail. So this seems like a fair thing, right? All those sequences are equally likely to occur, right? No, I'm serious. All those sequences are equally likely to occur. But I was sorted into Slytherin, and I'm a trickster, and I don't like losing money in games of chance, so I'm probably not challenging you to a fair game at all. So we're going to simulate this game to see if I'm trying to scam you. And I didn't have a rubric for this one, but the first thing I'd want to do is basically... But we're write a program that simulates the game on the previous player with one player trying to get head, heads, tails, and the other trying to get tails, heads, heads. Have your program simulate the game 100,000 times and print out the percentage of times the two players wins. So the first thing so we're gonna write this by generating.
Daddy, it's a ghost.
It's a ghost. Woo!
Don't be a ghost.
Don't be a ghost, he says. Okay.
Mama,
Depth.
no.
Gen game. So basically, to generate a game, it's fairly straightforward. Laser, I'm trying to work here. So what we're going to do to generate a game is fairly straightforward. We're just going to use this to flip heads and tails. So I'm going to use random.choice, which is pretty awesome. But you could do it with the if-else statements. I like using random.choice though, where you've given a list and it's just going to pick it randomly from it. That simulates a coin flip really well. So random.choice. Actually, let's just go ahead and, yeah, I'm going to need this at some point. Head, tail. Okay. The next thing, but what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to generate our sequence for the game. And then I'm going to return the sequence when we're done with it. Which is... while the sequence doesn't have one of the two terminating conditions in it, which is while the last three characters are not equal to head tail. So our sequence is what? We're head tail and tail head. And sequence is not equal to tail head. And now the reason I do an and there is because the logic needs to be so that while neither of these conditions are true. Yep. Yep. So this is just not equal, so it's just doing it in my font. If I were to copy paste it over here, you see it's not equals. So while sequence is equal to head tail and sequence and the end is not equal to that, we flip the coin and add it to this. Since sequence is equal to sequence plus this. So we can print gen game to generate a game. So this first part would probably be worth 5 points, which is just simply generate a game. Not sure why it's not. Why is the while statement using that? I'm checking the last three. Oh right, that's not going to be it. So that's probably, Yeah, that's a mistake on my part. It should be the last three characters. Last three characters. Excellent question. So while the last three characters are not this.
Be Daddy, be a goat. Be a goat.
Heads, heads, tails.
Be a goat. Be
So-
a goat. Be
In that one, the
a
player would
goat.
win. Woo! I'm a ghost! And there's another one. So now we need to simulate to see who wins the most. But basically, what we care about is the last three characters. You can do the font in... I'm not sure if you can do the font in Idle. I don't know if font does... you can use the font, I just don't know if it supports the font ligatures. But I use it in Genie all the time. I use it in... I basically... Fear of Code. So let's go ahead and keep working on this. So now let's generate let's go ahead and simulate this. So def simulate coin game. Honestly, Visual Studio Code is amazing. It's an amazing, very light Python environment. Yep, you're supposed to have multiple heads or tails. Like this? Yeah, this is a valid sequence. I mean, you gotta have multiple heads or tails in the sequence, because... Okay. So, we've got this, thing, let's simulate this. So let's do trials is equal to, let's calculate 100,000 games. And we're gonna do this as, if it comes up with HTT at the end, we win. So, for game... Why? It only adds one. We keep flipping one coin at a time, and whoever gets the sequence first wins. So, like over here, I think, this is not a multiple of 3 over here. No worries. The question tells us that the winning sequences are going to be head, head, tail, and tail, head, head. What we're doing is that we're flipping a coin. We just keep flipping and flipping the coin until one combination comes up. Until we get a single solid sequence. And so what we care about is the most recently 3 flipped coins. Because we aren't flipping 3 coins to see who comes up. What we care about is the most frequently 3 recent flipped coins. If we were just throwing 3 coins, and if it came up my way, then I won, and your way, you won, it'd be 50-50. Oof. Well, that's harsh. For game in trials. For game in range trials, let's go ahead and focus on the code. My personal life is my own, and it just happens to invade class sometimes. So for game in trials, what we are going to do is we are going to generate a game. And so we're going to say, hey, here's our sequence. And let's check who wins. If the last three things of the sequence are equal to head, head, tail, then we're going to count that as a win. Just ignore it. Plus equals 1. So sequence plus equals 1. Print. Wins divided by trials. That is the last three.
Professor Rosen?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes?
I have a question. So it's still pertaining to this question. So what if I wanted to generate 3 coin flips at the same time?
That would generate that would be a completely different game.
Okay.
Because the entire point of this is I'm trying to scam you. So why is tails, head? These are both in the while statement over here. So why? So somebody asked, why is heads, tails, and tails, heads not included in the while statement? They are over here. We just add 1 coin at a time, and what we're asking is, what are the 3 most recent flips? So trials, wins, 4 game and range trials, sequence, gen game. If sequence so -3 to the end, the last 3 is heads, tails. We chalk it as a win up to you. Otherwise, it's going to be a win for me. So let's go ahead and simulate the coin game and see what the odds are of you winning. After all, it's an even chance, right? Oh, it looks like you're only going to win a quarter of the time. Which is the correct answer. Again, I told you that this game, if the game is going to be a scam and I tell you it's 50-50, the chances of you winning are probably going to be around a quarter if I can make it that low. So, so heads, tails, and tails, heads. Wins +1. So now, why now? So you're pretty confused as to why is equal chat. So why is it not an equals chance? Because this is a game. This is a scam game known as Penny's game. So can we also check to see tails, heads? Well, you see, it's heads, tails versus tails, heads. We're choosing one of those sequences to see which one comes up first. So if I check tails, heads, we're going to get about 75% chance of victory. Right? I'm playing tails, heads. You're playing heads, tails. And the idea here is that so long as you choose first, I can choose a sequence that will win. As long as you choose first, I can choose a sequence that will win. And the reason is that let's look at these. Let's go ahead and you know what? We'll just do it this way. But why? Let's go ahead and print out 100 of these sequences. So let's go ahead. Tell us your secrets. Okay, so tails. So basically, what's going to happen gets decided pretty quickly within the first couple of coin flips. So if there's a tails, so basically you're looking for heads, tails. So the only way that's going to work is that the only way you're going to get a heads, tails if there was no tail ever thrown before a head. Think about that for a second, right? Here, right? Notice here, tails, heads. My win basically uses the first two characters of your particular sequence. Same over here. Tails, heads, heads. You know, as soon as the tails came up, it became basically impossible for you to win. Here, you win because we got, because you threw a bunch of heads and tails. Yep, that's the odds and pennies game. It's just, I just happened to choose one of the more lopsided. I chose a very, yep. I've got a link to the description to this in the description of the video. So definitely check that out because yeah, I highly recommend. Yeah, there's I should probably never get put in front of a business class because yeah, thanks, I hate it. Because yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and play speaking of business, let's talk about simulating a game about ruthless capitalism. Monopoly. Okay. So, actually, so first off, so let's go ahead and talk about Monopoly. Now, Monopoly, first off, if you play it, the way the rules are actually done, and think for a second, have you ever actually read the rules to Monopoly? No, you haven't. Because, the rules for Monopoly are actually quite good, and actually, Monopoly shouldn't last for hours on end. It's actually a very quick game. Alright. So, part of the rules of the game with Monopoly, in case you're unfamiliar with it, this is the only part we need to know. In the board game Monopoly, players will move around the board by rolling a pair of six-sided die. So they roll 2d6 in dice notation. If you roll doubles on your dice, which means you get 2 3s or 2 5s, is awesome. Because that allows you to basically take an extra turn. Basically, if you roll a 3 and a 3 or a 2 and a 2 and a 1 and a 1, you get to have an extra turn. The chances of that are 6 and 36, right? Because there's 36 possible combinations. So if the player rolls another set of doubles, so 2 doubles, right? So if you roll maybe a 1 and a 1 and a 3 and a 3 after that, you get another extra turn. But if you roll a third set of doubles, so you roll one and a 1, a 6 and a 6, and then a 2 and a 2, that 2 and a 2 sends you directly to jail, which is somewhere you don't want to be in Monopoly. So, so what we're going to do is we're going to simulate 100,000 Monopoly turns. And those extra turns, those extra rolls, count as a part of the same turn. So basically, a turn is a single roll of the dice or more if you roll a double. So your program, what we're going to try to do is output the percentage of rolls without a double, then the percent of rolls with 1 double, 2 doubles, and 3 doubles. So, by the way, this basically, you know, and there's some actually interesting questions, such as, does a turn with 3 doubles include the number of turns with 2 doubles? Or sorry, does the term with 1 double include the number of terms with 3 doubles? And I'm going to go ahead and say, for the sake of programming, sure. However you decide to interpret it, I'll be generous and say that's the correct interpretation. So, first off, let's go. So notice the way I've set up the points here I set up the points here so basically you could really easily get extra credit, which is just 10 points to simulate 100,000 dice rolls. So let's do that. Def Monopoly Okay. Why did I move that out of the way? So, what we're going to do, first things first, is we're going to make use of the random. So, we're going to have roll 1 is equal to... So, roll 1 is equal to... We have 2 dice, so we're going to have 2 dice rolls. So, we need 2 separate random rolls. 1 through 6. And now let's simulate 100,000 dice rolls. For I in range. And there we go. That's 10 points right there. So now we got to handle whether or not we've got doubles. If they're the same, doubles plus equals 1. Boom, that's another 5 points right there. This one was designed to look hard, but actually be fairly straightforward. Because what I care about is the setup here, right? We rolled 10,000, we've got this, and then to handle doubles.
I don't think Murphy wants that much.
Now we got to handle 2 doubles and 3 doubles in a row. Because if you roll a double, you're supposed to roll again. And if those are equal, doubles. Yep. Doubles is equal to 0. So doubles. Hi, Laser. You want to play with the music? After class. I've hooked up my I've hooked up the keyboard next to my computer to the computer, a piano keyboard, so that because if I'm here, I might as well try to learn piano or something. You know, if I'm locked up in quarantine or something like that. I said afterwards. All right. Let me lower the volume a bit, Laser. So, Laser is short for Eliezer. So let's go ahead and do doubles plus equals 1. And now to handle triples, which is essentially doing the same thing, but again. Trip doubles. You know, it's funny that you think Nimrod's an insult. Doubles is... So, doubles, that's 2 doubles. Basically 2 doubles in the same turn. So we roll 1 pair of doubles, roll another pair of doubles. Yep. After this example. So we've got one thing, we've got another pair of doubles, and then we've got our third pair of doubles over here. Let's see. Boop, ba-doop, 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 ba-doop. And they're out. Well, I appreciate the sentiment. Let's see. So, doubles, trip doubles. So anyway, so what this is counting is basically, did we get 2 doubles? Did I roll 3 doubles in a row? So if I rolled 1 double in a row, great. If I rolled 2 doubles in a row, increment there. If I rolled 3 doubles in a row, there. Yeah, the person was a troll. All right, so now for the last 2 points. Presenting the data in percentages. You know, let's see, presenting the data in percentages. So what we need to do over here is that we've got 100,000. So we're just going to do the number of turns without any doubles. So first, let's just print out the number of turns with doubles. So bye-bye. 100,000. If the first statement is false, it will stop right there. Yes. No, I mean, it could be some... I don't really know how somebody's getting in. I mean, my link, it's a public link. If you get it, you can download Zoom and you can join. Or there's someone in class. And they're only being mildly annoying.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So the last thing for this is, let's see. Oh, I've got to actually call Monopoly. I'll look into it after class, but this is more important than dealing with random trolls. So 16. So here we see that the number of turns, that's about 1 in 6. And then this is the number of turns with 2 doubles and the number of turns with 3 doubles. So to get the number of turns without any doubles, here it would just be 100,000 minus doubles. There we go. Well, you could just be unlucky. So, yeah. Let's see. If you're going to... Okay. Why'd you include the roll 1 is equal to rand in the if statements? Because I have to re-roll them. Because at this point, for this last one... So the question is, why'd you include the roll this check? In this check, why do I do the whole roll again? Right? Well, because when you roll a double, that means you get to roll again for an extra turn. But if you happen to do it 3 times in a row, 1, 2, 3, your turn stops and you go directly to jail. It's part of the problem prompt. So if you remember, if you Monopoly, you roll... Okay, yeah. So, yeah. So, now, so Monopoly is... So you should actually look up the rules for Monopoly. It can be played pretty competitively. Because there's... If you don't add stuff to extend the game, like putting money in free parking and stuff like that, then the game actually lasts, normal amount of game. Now, mind you, my only complaint about Monopoly is that it's a knock.
I don't know if we have pizza. I have a circle sandwich.
It's the whole thing about Monopoly is you can be knocked out of the game. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other problems now, since we've got the other ones. Will there be extra credit? There's going to be 5 points of extra credit. Yep, and Kalon is right. The easiest way to weight some dies is just put them into an oven for a bit. So let's go ahead and check out some of these other functions here. So over here, min-max difference. This is fairly straightforward. I don't feel the need to go over this one. I'm going to look for one. This one over here. This one definitely I want to go over. I did go over the first 6 at the beginning. You feel like I went over them a bit too quickly? Okay. Sure. It is recorded. It's recorded. I'm recording using OBS because that's simpler for me, and I don't have to wait. So has Wildcat, basically it's got the basically we've got the string combination CAT but without the so we've got the string combination CAT without the with the A being any character. And everything's going to be on the YouTube playlist, yes. So I basically plan on uploading this as soon as possible. Could you I will do is everywhere, sure. I plan on going over all these things, even if it goes over the class time, so that's fine. Or as many as you guys need me to. So is Wildcat word is equal to, so first off, Wildcat. So here's the thing. This is a pretty easy way to get these points, or to get partial credit on this. For I in range. Now here we actually have to go by the indices because we need to be looking at, because we need to look ahead. So so if so let's go ahead and get our character. Car is equal to word I. My wife is Annie Ray. Car is equal to word I. So we get it. If car equals if car is equal to C, not a very good one. If car is equal to C, then let's go ahead and see. Then what we care about is not the next character, but the character after that. So I don't think vote kicking works on this. So you can't do for car in word? Okay, so excellent question. I need to, let me finish writing this. Because actually, it's not finished yet. Okay, so this one's, so basically, you can't, what we care about is, does it have the combination CAT? So, if the character is equal to C, then the next thing we have to do is check, is the character 2 after it equal to T? Because remember, we're looking for cat, where it can be CAT, CBT, CCT, CDT. You know, anything can be the middle character. So we don't care about it. So we're just going to check the next character after that. In fact, I can say basically this. So I'm checking the character 2 after it. So that's why I can't use a for each loop. I can't use a for each loop because I can't do for character in word, because I need to be able to look 2 characters ahead, and I can't do that if I'm not using the indices. So, for I in range length word, grab that character, see if it's C, and if it is, check the T after it. Now, this is actually would get some points docked, because if I'm looking ahead, I have to add a -2 over here to make sure I'm not looking ahead too far. Great question. It just means you're thinking really correctly about this. All right. So, next question was, is everywhere. So this one was from Coding Bat, which, by the way, has plenty of good questions about this stuff. Wait, why subtract? Yes, you can use regular expressions. So Ben, yes, you can feel free to use regular expressions. In fact, that is what exam 3 is going to be all about. So if you feel free to use regular expressions to your heart's content. So now, why do you subtract 2? Because if C is at the end, exam 3 will be like basically the last week of class, and the final, I don't know, it's like in the syllabus or something. Exam 3 will be online. Most likely. Let's see how exam 2... You know what? Here's my stance on exam 3. We're going to see how exam 2 turns out. And then I'm going to look at the calendar. And then I'll see if we need an exam 3 or not. I might even make it optional and say, hey, you know, it could be a makeup. Any update on the grading policy? I don't know. There's going to be something for pass fails, or for credit, not credit, but yeah, I think if I do an exam 3, I might just simply do it so that basically you can take 3 exams and I'll drop one of them. So that might be it. So I might do it like that. And I feel like that would be like a good way to basically allow for the whole making up points. And to do the and to effect for this. And plus it would incentivize you to learn. So, okay. I'll see. But I think that would actually be the best way to handle this. Okay, I don't mind. For this semester, I'm allowed to do the things where it seems like I'm being really, really nice, because I can just, because my excuse to anybody else in the department can be, but coronavirus. Yeah, no. The final is not optional. I am 33. I am ineligible to run for president. All right, let me get to this. So we say a value is everywhere if for every pair of adjacent elements in the array, at least one pair is in that value. Okay, so yes, the -2. I think I got sidetracked from there. The -2, because I'm looking 2 ahead, if say if basically I'm looking for hey Annie, what's a word that ends with C?
Like
Any word that ends with C.
literacy?
That's close enough.
Or do you mean like
Electric.
you weren't clear with your direction? You should know better.
Pandemic. Block. Excellent. Electric. That word ends with C, and it doesn't contain cat in it. So I'm going to go, hey, is this a C? No, no, no. Is this a C? Look to ahead. Is that a T? No. Keep going. Get to the end. Got to a C. Okay. And now, if I don't have that -2 here, I'm going to get to the C, say, hey, there's a C there. And add 2 to the end. It's one person. And and so now, since we look ahead 2 characters, we are going to go ahead and basically see, hey, see. I appreciate everybody stepping in to defend me there, but unnecessary. So let's go. So since this ends with a C, there is a way to lock the channel to just people on Temple, but I mean, I can, there's no need. Let's see. Anyway, like I said, I will deal with this after class. It is not necessary for me to do it right now. It is getting very distracting. So anyway, electric. C. Because electric ends with C, we need to do we have to have an A and a. Basically, the next thing basically, if I look 2 ahead, I'm going to get an index out of bounds and error. So let's see. Hold on one second. Click. How interesting. All right. So let's go ahead and work on is everywhere before I turn up for the game, or turn up for this. Before I wrap this up. So is everywhere was one of the ones that was requested, and I can actually post to last year's review where I went over a bunch of these questions as well, so I might do that rather than just continuing with these questions. All right, so source, coding bat is everywhere. Def is everywhere, nums val. All right, so here for this one, we see a value is everywhere if it's present in every adjacent pair. So it's present. So 1 is present in 1, 2, 2, 1, and 1, 3. Is everywhere is present in 1, 2, 2, 1, but not in 1, 3, so it's false. And here, 1 is present in 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 3, but not 3, 4. This will be posted on YouTube. So let's go ahead and do this. So what we have to do is check every adjacent pair, which is actually fairly simple. We just have to rely on indices again. So for I in range, length of nums. Okay. For I in range, length of numbers. If so, if nums I so we have to check basically, is this value in either of those? Hi, Laser. So if nums is equal to val, or if nums not equal to val and nums I plus 1 on not equal to val, return false. Does the range need to be length number 1? No, it needs to be -1, as you just saw. And return true. So that will do it. It will check every adjacent pair. So because we're out of time here, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to also link to the review from last semester. Val is defined right here. So I'm going to link to the review I found last semester. I'm going to take a bit and I'll wait for office hours to start, okay? I'm going to post this on the GitHub link, so let me do that now. Classroom, git add star.py. Number 1 will be a basic simple function problem. Basically, does this string have this quality? So, all right. Yeah, I'm going to upload this, and I'm going to put the old review on the playlist. I'm going to do that over the next half hour, so just give me a second. Let's see. I'll be back in a couple minutes. I'm just going to go and... Yes, I have office hours from 4 to 5 today. And if you need to speak with me for any reason, I'll be there. So... Yes, it will be the same link. In fact, I'm probably not even going to close this Zoom meeting. Alright, so I'm going to mute my camera and mic for a bit. Hey, Annie, come over here. Annie, please come over here. I had a bit... Let's see. Oh, stop recording.